It is not good to begin a new year by already carrying so many burdens and overthinking all the things that we might face during the upcoming months. Good morning. This is Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Thursday. You know, some burdens weigh heavier than others, and some will break your back if you continue to carry them. We may even deny that these things are worrying us or that we're letting it get to us. But we know deep down inside that we are struggling over something, or maybe we're slowly sinking. The psalmist faced his share of skirmishes with Satan as well as with other enemies in this world. So he writes to us in Psalm 55 and verse 22, "Cast your burden on the Lord, and he shall sustain you. He shall never permit the righteous to be moved." Do we recognize the meaning of the word cast? I mean, certainly the fisherman recognizes that term, right? He will cast that lure or that bait into the water over and over and over again, hoping that he will entice that fish into taking the hook. And sometimes the farther he casts that lure, the more opportunity he has to attract the fish. But unlike the fisherman, the psalmist is not expecting to draw the cast back in. When he says, "Cast your burden," he means that weight, that guilt, that millstone that is pulling at you. It needs to be cast away as far as possible. And the best way to rid ourselves of that burden is to cast it upon the Lord. You know, there used to be a saying that says, when you can't sleep at night, turn that worry over to the Lord. He's going to be up all night anyway, right? Cast your burden on the Lord rather than trying to carry it on your own. So what is the outcome when you cast your burden on the Lord? The Bible says, He shall sustain you. In other words, when we feel like that weight is drowning us in worry or guilt or whatever, God will buoy our spirit to deliver us from going completely under. You know, there may be no greater fear than drowning, where we have no footing or no support to hold us up above the surface of the water. We suddenly can't breathe. We can't swim. We're just being dragged farther into the deep, and our life is on the line. And then suddenly we feel the Lord reach down into the depths with no hope to help ourselves, and He lifts us up. He sustains us. Kind of like when Jonah was drowning in the stormy sea, and God sent a big fish in order to swallow him. Now, they may not be a pretty picture of deliverance, but in his desperation, the Lord sustained him. So the writer says, "Cast your burden on the Lord, and He shall sustain you, for He shall never permit the righteous to be moved." You know, the testimony of the psalmist in Psalm 37:25 says, I have been young, and now am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. We know how God feels about His chosen elect. He would never permit them to be moved. So why do we continue to carry our burdens around day after day? Cast them on the Lord. He will sustain us, keep us from sinking, and never permit us to be moved away from our moorings.